The lights in the grand auditorium flickered softly as the audience settled into silence. It was the third night of the National Talent Competition, the kind of show that changed lives overnight. The stage gleamed under golden spotlights, and the judges' table sparkled with anticipation. But behind the curtain, 15-year-old Eli Carter stood trembling, clutching a worn-out guitar that looked older than he was. The strap was torn, patched with duct tape. His fingers, bruised from days of practice, rested on the strings as he whispered quietly, "Dad, this one's for you." Eli's heart was pounding, not because of the crowd, not because of the cameras, but because of the empty seat he knew would be watching from the shadows. His father had been gone for just 3 months. The boy from nowhere. Eli grew up in a tiny trailer on the edge of a small town called Maple Ridge. His father, David Carter, was a mechanic who loved two things in life: fixing old engines, and listening to classic rock. Music fixes what life breaks, he used to tell Eli, handing him an old record of the Eagles. They used to sit by the fire every Saturday night, playing Hotel California on that same guitar. His dad sang with that raspy warmth of someone who'd lived through pain, but still believed in beauty. But things changed when David fell ill. Lung disease, a slow cruel thief. By the time Eli turned 15, the man who taught him to sing couldn't even breathe without a machine. Medical bills piled up. Eli stopped going to school, working odd jobs, just to keep the lights on. The day his father passed, Eli sat alone with that old guitar, his tears mixing with the strings. "You said music fixes what life breaks," he whispered. "Then I'll fix this world with music." The audition that almost didn't happen. Weeks later, a flyer caught his eye: National Talent Showcase, Find Your Voice. The auditions were in the city, 2 hours away. Eli didn't even have the bus fare. But his neighbor, old Mrs. Raines, saw him reading that flyer again and again. "You gotta stare at that paper all week, or do something about it," she said, handing him an envelope with $40 inside. "Go, sing your daddy's song. The world needs to hear it." Eli didn't want to take the money. But she smiled. "Kindness ain't charity, boy. It's belief." So he went. One small backpack, one guitar, and a heart full of memories. The moment before the music. Now, standing behind the stage curtain, Eli could barely breathe. The host's voice boomed. "Next up, a young man from Maple Ridge. Give it up for Eli Carter." Applause erupted. The lights blinded him as he stepped onto the stage. 3 judges sat before him, stern faces that had seen hundreds of dreamers crash and burn. He introduced himself softly. "My name's Eli. I'll be singing Hotel California." One judge raised an eyebrow. "That's a classic. You sure you're ready for that one?" Eli nodded. "It's my dad's favorite song. He's not here anymore. But I'll sing it for him." The audience grew still. Even the camera crew paused. There was something raw about his honesty. He closed his eyes, strummed the first chord, a voice that stopped time. At first, his voice was fragile, a trembling whisper carried on the air. But as the first verse flowed, something powerful awakened. On the dark desert highway, the tone, the ache, it was as if every tear he never held back poured through that melody. His guitar wept with him, each note trembling with pain and love intertwined. The audience leaned forward. By the second verse, his voice deepened, strong and haunting. The judges exchanged looks. One reached for the tissue box. Another pressed her hand to her chest. Then came the guitar solo, the one he had practiced thousands of times in that cold trailer, while his father watched from his hospital bed. Eli lifted his head toward the lights, his fingers moving like lightning, pouring every ounce of grief, every ounce of love into the strings. And at that moment, the crowd disappeared. It was just him and his father, back by that old fire, playing one last time, the final note. When the song ended, there was silence. No one moved. No one even breathed. Then, like a wave, the entire room stood. A standing ovation that thundered through the hall. The youngest judge, a pop star known for her tough critiques, had tears streaming down her face. "Eli," she said softly, "that wasn't just a song. That was a soul crying out, and we all heard it." Another judge, voice shaking, whispered, "I've heard Hotel California 1,000 times. But I've never felt it like that." Then, without hesitation, he slammed the golden buzzer. Golden confetti exploded across the stage. Eli fell to his knees, covering his face as tears poured down. The sound of the crowd roared around him, but all he could whisper was, "We did it, Dad." The world listened. That performance went viral overnight. Millions watched, replaying the moment. That true emotion met music. But behind the fame, Eli stayed the same quiet boy from Maple Ridge. He didn't chase the spotlight, He played charity shows, visited sick kids in hospitals, and used his earnings to rebuild the old community center where his father used to fix cars. A small plaque hangs there today, right beside the stage. Music fixes what life breaks. David Carter. And every year, on his father's birthday, Eli plays Hotel California under the stars. Not for the cameras, not for the applause, but for the man who taught him that love doesn't die, it just changes its tune. Closing as the credit roll on his story, one message remains. Kindness isn't about grand gestures. It's the small acts of belief, like a neighbor's $40 or a father's lesson, that can change a life forever. If you believe in the power of kindness, music, and second chances, subscribe, and let more stories